You're watching Defense Dynamics, the show that decodes the future of warfare through an Indian lens in defense, technology, and diplomacy. I'm your host, Danveer Singh, coming to you from New Delhi. In this episode, we will tell you about the nuclear-capable Agni Prime missile launched from a rail-based mobile launcher system. What is its strategic significance? Also, we'll talk about the Anant Shastra, India's new QRSAM regiments, and why the Kaveri Derivative Engine D-1, delivered by Godrej Aerospace, is India's engine revolution. But before we dive in, here are the major defense global headlines. The Royal Thai Air Force, or the RTAF, has signed a contract with Airbus to procure the enhanced version of company's A330 multi-role tanker transport, or MRTT. The aircraft will undergo military conversion at A330 MRTT Center at Getafe, Spain in 2026. With delivery to RTAF in 2029. Germany is set to acquire additional advanced medium-range air-to-air missile from the United States for its future F-35A aircrafts. The US government has approved the sale of the latest variant of RTX AIM-120D3, the advanced medium-range air-to-air missile. The sale will improve Germany's capability to meet current and future threats by providing increased air-to-air capability for the F-35 program. Taiwanese defense technology firm July Hurricane unveiled a new vehicle-mounted counter unmanned aerial vehicle jamming stations. The company showcased two versions at recent Taipei Aerospace and Defense Technology Exhibition 2025. The first variant is the omnidirectional jamming station, while the second is a rotating directional jamming station. The Ministry of Defense has signed a 62,370 crore rupees contract with HAL for 97 LCA Mark I Alpha jets. The order includes 68 single-seater fighters and 29 twin-seater trainers to be delivered from 2027 onwards for next 6 years. The aircraft features 70% indigenous content, including advanced systems like the Uttam AESA radar. The Indian Air Forces Maintenance Command and the IIT Roper signed a memorandum of understanding to collaborate on developmental projects, bolstering the Indian Air Force's operational capabilities and self-reliance. The Indian Institute of Technology Roper will provide consultancy, research and technology demonstrators to support the Indian Air Force's indigenization efforts, aligning with Atmanirbhar Bharat vision. India's glorious history of combat trains has reached a new milestone. On September 24th, India successfully test-launched its nuclear-capable Agni Prime missile from a rail-based mobile launcher system. With this successful launch, India has entered an elite club of nations. The United States, Russia, North Korea and China capable of firing nuclear-capable missiles from rail-based systems. This launch was no ordinary deal. While Agni Prime was tested earlier as well, this time the significance lay in its rail-based launch. To understand why, let's revisit the Cold War era when nuclear trains first emerged. In the 1980s, both Soviet Union and the United States began experimenting with integrating ICBMs on railway carriages. The Soviet Union successfully deployed the RT-23 Molodets, a three-stage solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile with a range of 10,000 to 11,000 kilometers. Each missile could carry up to 10 multiple integrated re-entry vehicle, or the MIRV warheads, each packaging a 550 kiloton yield. The idea was simple but deadly. disguise missiles within ordinary trains, making them extremely difficult for enemy satellites to detect. These trains were self-sufficient, could travel over 1,000 kilometers daily, and dispersed across 150,000 kilometers of Soviet railways, giving Moscow a formidable second strike capability. By the time the USSR dissolved in 1991, it had already deployed 12 such trains.
The Soviets weren't alone. The Americans also pursued their own version of missile trains. Here's what happened.
In response, the United States developed a rail garrison system, aiming to deploy 50 Peacekeeper MX intercontinental ballistic missiles on 25 trains. The project was approved in year 1986, and by the year 1988, a prototype was tested. However, after the collapse of Soviet Union, the project was cancelled in 1991. Only one prototype survived today, preserved in the National Museum of the United States Air Force.
But Russia didn't entirely abandon this idea. In fact, in the 2010s, it tried to resurrect the concept with a new generation of nuclear trains.
In 2012, Russia began developing a successor to RT-23, known as RS-27, which would use a lighter RS-24 Yars missile weighing only 54 tons and carrying 4 nuclear warheads. Lighter weight allowed the system to be mounted on standard train wagons and fit up to 6 missiles per train. The Yars reportedly travel at 20 times the speed of sound, performs evasive maneuvers, and deploys decoys to confuse interceptors. But after Russia's annexation of Crimea in year 2014 and international sanctions coupled with declining oil revenue, the progress had slowed down.
So why nuclear trains? First, they are extremely hard to detect. Second, they can blend seamlessly with civilian trains, making identification almost impossible. Third, they offer high mobility, moving over 1,000 kilometers in a single day. And finally, they provide survivability against first strikes, ensuring a credible second strike capability. That's what makes nuclear trains one of the most survivable nuclear deterrent options in modern warfare.
In year 2019, Russian media revived the story, reporting plans to test fire an ICBM from a new missile-equipped death train called the Berguzin BZ-HRK. The train was designed to carry 6 RS-24 Yars ICBMs, each weighing 55 tons and capable of carrying up to 10 nuclear warheads.
Post-Cold War treaties also played their part. In the year 1993, START II treaty banned MIRVs on the ICBMs, forcing Russia to retire its RT-23 trains by 2005. Today, only preserved models remain on display in different museums.
The re-emergence of nuclear trains signals a new phase in global deterrence. China revived this concept in 2010s. North Korea unveiled its own missile train in 2021, and now India has joined the group, giving its nuclear deterrent an unprecedented survivability and mobility.
From the Soviet Union's Modolet to Russia's Barguzin and now India's Agni Prime, nuclear trains have come a very long way. For India, this is not just about technology but about survivability, credibility, and strengthening its nuclear deterrent posture, also known as the Triad. India has kicked off the acquisition process for 3 highly mobile regiments of indigenous quick reaction surface-to-air missile systems, the Anant Shastra.
At a cost of nearly rupees 30,000 crores, the Indian Army has issued a request for proposal to acquire 3 regiments of the quick reaction surface-to-air missile systems Anant Shastra, developed by the DRDO and to be co-produced by Bharat Electronics and Bharat Dynamics. The system will add a cutting-edge layer to India's air defense network. This move comes just months after Operation Sindoor, where intense hostilities with Pakistan highlighted the urgent need for mobile and modern air defense systems.
So what exactly is the Anant Shastra? Let's take a closer look at its firepower and role on the battlefield.
Mounted on a high mobility 8x8 vehicles, the QRSAM brings together missile launchers, 360-degree radars, automated command and control systems, and all-weather tracking together. With its search, track, and fire at short halt capability, the system can protect advancing tank columns, infantry combat vehicles, and artillery batteries across plains, deserts, and mountains on both the Pakistan and the Chinese front.
But Anant Shastra is not just about the range. It's built to counter new age threats like swarm drones and loitering munitions, threats that played out during the Operation Sindoor. So why is it a game changer?
The QRSAM neutralizes incoming threats at altitudes of 6 to 10 kilometers, even under hostile electronic jamming conditions. Its pre-fragmented warheads, high-speed solid fuel propulsion, and integration with Army Akshatir command network makes it a tactical game changer. It will gradually replace the older Russian-origin OSA AK systems, offering India a faster, smarter, and a more mobile air defense shield.
The QRSAMs will join India's layered air defense family alongside Akash and the newer Akash Prime regiments designed for high altitude deployment. Now, with the help of this graphic wall and the graphics that are displayed, I'll try and explain how the layered system of air defense will get effective in actual. This side we have shown the range in kilometers above the mean surface level or above the surface level, so to say. And these are the photographs of various equipment. To start with, ZU-23, this is ZU-23, and also L-70. They will cater for anything flying above the surface area up to 4 kilometers. Thereafter, we have QRSAM Anant Shastra, which the Indian Army will soon acquire, and they can cater for up to 10 kilometers from the surface of the earth. Thereafter, we have Akash and Akash Prime. The difference between two, Akash is for the plain areas and Akash Prime is for the high altitude areas, and this system can cater for up to 18 kilometers. So we have seen 4 kilometers, 10 kilometers and 18 kilometers. These are the three layers, and continuing with that, the master of the air defense or the tiger of the air defense is the S-400, and also there are different missile systems with the Air Force as well, and they can cater for up to 30 kilometers. So anything flying from 30 kilometers right down to this surface area, surface level, these equipments can tackle layer by layer.
India already fields 55 regiments of mixed air defense systems. Akash missiles cover a 25-kilometer range overhead. Akash Prime Regiment, under induction since year 2023, are tailored for high altitude areas above 4,500 meters along the Chinese frontier. And now Anant Shastra QRSAM will plug a critical gap against drones, loitering munitions and rockets. During Operation Sindoor, this multi-layer shield proved decisive against waves of Turkish origin drones and Chinese missiles used by Pakistan.
But the Indian Army's air defense will need much more than the missiles. Guns, sensors and counter-drone systems that will be critical for the future battlefield.
The Army is also upgrading its L-70 anti-aircraft guns and the ZU-23 twin barrels, both of which proved effective in Operation Sindoor. Future plans include counter-UAS guns against drones, counter-RAM systems similar to the US Flenex CIWX, and the new generation radars and sensors able to detect small UAVs as well as aircrafts.
From Operation Sindoor to the induction of Anant Shastra, India's air defense is transforming rapidly. This is not just about new missiles, but about building a resilient, layered shield against old and emerging new threats. Now let's talk about a breakthrough that marks a historic turning point in India's aerospace journey, the Kaveri Derivative Engine D-1 that has been delivered by the Godrej Aerospace. The Kaveri program, which began in the decade of 1980 with the dream to power India's indigenous fighter aircrafts. It faced a number of setbacks, but India refused to give up. Let's take a look at this remarkable journey of Kaveri engine.
The Kaveri program, launched by the GTRE under DRDO, was originally meant for the HAL Tejas. But by year 2000s, it was dropped for failing thrust requirements. Instead of abandoning the effort, Indian scientists converted lessons into a new direction: derivative engines. This resilience led to the birth of the D-1 dry engine, now entering serial production.
So what makes the D-1 special? Unlike fighter engines, this dry variant is designed for endurance, perfect for unmanned aerial vehicles and unmanned combat aerial vehicles.
The D-1 has no afterburner, which means low fuel consumption, reduced heat signature, lighter weight, and higher reliability. These features make it ideal for stealth UCAVs like Ghatak, Hail/Mail UAVs, twin-engine drones, and even auxiliary power units. On September 20th, 2025, Godrej Aerospace delivered the first serial production unit, proving India can scale engine manufacturing.
This delivery also shows how India's private sector is becoming a major player in the Indian aerospace ecosystem.
Godrej Aerospace began in the year 2010s with small modules like the turbine blades and casings. Today, it has matured into a full-fledged engine manufacturer. It partners with GTRE, is a model for public-private collaboration in defense modernization.
But the D-1 is just the start. A full roadmap of D2, D3, D4 and D5 lies ahead.
In year 2026, the D2 or the D3 will undergo endurance trials for 150 hours under simulated high-altitude conditions. Then the D4, D5 will be put through the qualification trials for 300 to 500 hours. In short, they will be put under the extreme stress tests. India is also developing an after-burning Kaveri derivative with Safran for fighters like AMCA Mark II and TED-BF.
This is not just about engineering. The Kaveri derivative also shifts India's strategic balance.
The Kaveri derivative engines give India an unprecedented strategic autonomy that translates to less reliance on GE and Safran. On the China front, it would be narrowing the gap with WS-10 and WS-13. Besides, it will have great export potential. UCAVs with indigenous engines can be sold freely, and India as a global South leader could provide affordable defense technology for Asia, Africa, and the Latin America.
So as the skies ahead begin to carry the sounds of engines built at home by India, for India, the Kaveri D-1 is not just an engine, it's a statement of India's persistence, innovation, and independence. At the recently held session at the UNGA, Pakistan once again tried theatrics, but India's rebuttal cut through the drama with hard facts. By glorifying terrorism, shielding terror outfits, and giving sanctuary to extremists, Pakistan has shown why it is seen as a rogue nation. This is a country whose leaders openly pay homage to terrorists, whose soil breeds hatred, and whose military uses terrorism as a state policy. Even in the recent conflict, when its bases lay in ruins, Pakistan claimed victory, exposing its delusion. For me, the lesson is clear. Pakistan cannot preach peace while exporting terror. India has exposed its duplicity, and the world now sees Islamabad for what it is, a rogue state isolated by its own choices. And that's my take. With this, we come to the end of this episode of Defense Dynamics. Thank you for joining us, and do post your comments with hashtag DD with Danveer. See you next week with more defense stories and geopolitical developments. Till then, goodbye and take care.